I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Everyone, please be seated. I want to thank everyone for their attendance today on this very special occasion. It is my personal request to this audience that you afford this group, our graduates, the dignity which they certainly deserve. In keeping with the decorum of this special occasion, I ask that you refrain from loud or boisterous celebrations as your senior's name is read and as he or she crosses the stage. Polite applause is always appropriate, and it goes without saying that noisemakers, horns, and that sort are certainly out of place in this setting. Our seniors have earned this respect and consideration. Again, thank you in advance for observing these guidelines. We are very proud of the accomplishments of this senior class. Over the past 2 years, I've enjoyed the privilege of serving as the leader of the Archer Learning Center. As a school, we enjoy celebrating the success of our students. Tonight, I want to recognize 2 of our students who have received local scholarships. Estefani Corona Bravo has received the Boatwright Scholarship, and Mariana Underdown, a recipient of the Kiwanis Scholarship. I am proud not only of these 2 students, but all of our graduates. As principal of the Archer Learning Center, I am thankful for the support of our district office and our local school board. They continuously provide the support and resources that we need that directly benefit our students. In a moment, I will introduce our superintendent, but I'd like to recognize a few of our guests. Mr. Eichenberger, Ms. Kim Garrett, assistant superintendent, Mr. Tim Stevenson, our graduation speaker, and it is my privilege to introduce Superintendent of Schools, Dr. Jim Rollins.
This is quite a sight up here tonight. It's just a privilege, really, for me to welcome each of you to this graduation ceremony. I think Paul, the lower level looks almost full to me, and that is just phenomenal. It is a very special night, and we're so glad that you're here. These students are extremely special, and those of us who know them and know them firsthand understand that. They're outstanding young people. All of us wish them the very, very best. And seniors, my encouragement to you is to build on what you've accomplished already. Commit yourself to continue to be learners. Make a pact with yourself, and listen carefully to me. Make a pact with yourself. I will never stop learning. Will you say that with me? I will never stop learning. Can't hear you. Seniors, I will never stop learning. Second point, the thing that will separate you from all the others is your effort. Never stop learning, and then work very hard. Work harder and smarter than anyone else. Repeat with me. Work harder and smarter than anyone else. Those of us who've had an opportunity to be in this area for quite a while understand that what's made this region, and Springdale perhaps especially, is the work ethic of our people. If you look at the corporations that have made Springdale great, it was the willingness of those who organized and brought the companies forward to work hard, to work harder and smarter than anyone else. And here's the third point I would leave with you. Make good choices. Choices in your friends and associates. And I want you to repeat this with me. Surround yourself with people who care about you and who will only take you forward. Surround yourself with people who care about you and who will only take you forward. Make a pact with yourself. I will never stop learning. Work harder and smarter than anyone else. And surround yourself with people who care about you and who will only take you forward. Those are suggestions that, in my view, you can build on and create a great future for yourself, for your families, and for those that you love and care about. The world is a great place. It's filled with opportunities, and I think if you will follow, or at least be thoughtful about and decide for yourself the power of those three suggestions, I think personally your future will be greater and greater. As we open tonight's ceremony, let's take just a moment and make this special event even more memorable than perhaps it is. In about a week, our nation will be celebrating the Memorial Day holiday. A number of our Archer Learning Center graduates have already graduated early, and they've gone on and enrolled in the military to serve our nation. And perhaps those seniors who are in front of me tonight are still considering that possibility. Ladies and gentlemen, with your applause, let's recognize those who served our nation well. A few months ago, I talked with Joseph Dawson and Brittany Mathias. They are graduates that have graduated in this senior class and have gone on to serve. And seniors, I hope you will let them know that we remembered their service here this evening. And I know we've got an audience filled with special guests. If there are those in our audience tonight who've served our nation, who've served in the military, would you please stand and let us thank you? Please stand, ladies and gentlemen, if you served in our military. You honor us with your presence here tonight, and we're all very thankful about that. I don't normally talk a great deal about numbers, but the situation really requires it, and I hope you can listen and understand what I'm trying to talk with you about. First of all, this 2014 graduating class has 120 seniors who have graduated. That's a record for us in our alternative high school. Will you please acknowledge that? Moms and dads and loved ones and friends and certainly teachers and administrators, you know full well the accomplishment of this group. These young people, their academic achievement has come alongside the achievement of those in Springdale High School and at HAR-BER High School. These young people have established the academic record that all of us who believe in this program wanted to see happen. Seniors, we're so very proud of each of you. Please thank them for their work. You've worked very hard. You've overcome a lot. You're better off as a result of the experience you've had. You know who you are. You know what you can do. And you have a very good understanding of the important learning that is in front of you. The important thing is that you know now that you can do it. You know now that you can do it. You can achieve academically. You can stand side by side with peers in the traditional schools in this district. You know what success looks like, and you know a lot. probably more than most of your peers, about yourself and what you must do to be successful in life. Seniors, please take just a moment, turn to your friend beside you, and congratulate each other on what you've accomplished here. Mr. Greep tells me that these group of seniors are a family in every sense of the word. They've encouraged each other, they've pulled each other along, they've achieved together. We're so very proud of each of you. Thank you for what you've done. You understand the power of honesty and integrity and perseverance and character and work ethic. You know the power of all of those variables. I've got this underlined 3 times on my notes, and I believe it. You can do whatever's important to you if you're willing to continue to learn and work hard, make good decisions, and demonstrate character and integrity. You have a phenomenal future in front of you. I look at this room this evening, and I see all the loved ones gathered here, friends and family. They wanted to see you graduate. They want only the best for each of you. They want to see you succeed and find your own happiness. That's what we all want for you. Your teachers and administrators certainly have that same hope. I ask an awful lot of Mr. Greep, Mr. Eichenberger, Ms. Rowland, and every teacher who serves in this school, because we all believe in each of you. Paul, we owe you and your team our deepest appreciation. As I said, I've asked an awful lot of them, and not only have they responded to what I've asked, they've given so much more. Thank you. Thank you very, very much. One more time, please. I use these words a lot, and I know my school board's heard it many times. I just haven't figured out a better way to say it. All of these individuals, students who are here with you, helped you get here today. Moms and dads and grandparents and loved ones and friends and brothers and sisters and teachers and administrators, and that list goes on and on and on and on. I think you'll find it true in life that whatever success you have will to a great degree depend on the others in your life. That's why I emphasize the importance of surround yourself with people who care about you, people who will only take you forward. Seniors, I want to give you a chance to thank all of these people who've helped you, your loved ones and your teachers and administrators. With your applause, seniors, thank them. I have another very special privilege, and I want to give everyone in the room an opportunity to thank these phenomenal individuals. The members of the Springdale School Board give heart and soul to the work that they do. They're here for one reason only, and to make sure that a quality education is provided for every student in our school system. And seniors, certainly everyone who serves in the Archer Learning Center. As I introduce our board, I want to ask them to stand, and when I've concluded my introductions, please give them the applause that they deserve. Mr. Mike Luttrell, President. Mr. Jeff Williams, Vice President. Mr. Randy Hutchinson, Secretary-Treasurer. The remaining members of the board, Ms. Michelle Cook, Mr. Danny Dotson, Ms. Kathy McFetridge, Mr. Kevin Owenby. Seniors, congratulations. Our hopes and our best wishes go forward with you. Thank you.
As I think about our graduating class, I'm filled with pride at your perseverance and your hard work. And as we celebrate our success, I want to acknowledge the work of your teachers. As principal, I've had the privilege of working with a gifted and a dedicated group of teachers. I'll be honest with you, your teachers could work anywhere in the world. They are that good. Yet, they choose to work at Archer. I have a video that I want to share with you. I encourage you to listen to the words. Thank you for our staff for the work that you do.
And on the 8th day, God looked down at the world and said, I need someone to help me, someone that will rise with the sun and go to work empowered with the knowledge of change and growth and development. So God made a teacher. I need someone that will love a child that's been hardened by life, unforgiving and relentless. Someone that will see the potential in each youthful eye. Someone that will give and give and give some more. And just when all the giving seems gone, God made a teacher. Someone that will come in before school, stay in at lunch, and remain in class until the last hand has been lowered, until the last question has been answered, and smile as the last mind leaves the room to wonder about all the things they learned that day. So God made a teacher. They have to be committed to kids, to the success of each child in the hallways, the playgrounds, the buses, the classrooms, the gymnasiums, the libraries, never turning a blind eye to prejudice or injustice, always standing up for what's right, knowing that in their care lies the future of humanity. So God made a teacher, a person that will endure the persecution of the government, the ire of the public, the occasional condemnation of misguided parents, in the hopes that their rooms are a safety place for children. A person that loves without condition, that gives without reward, that plans and builds and carries out the mandate of the day, ready to review, rework, revamp the lessons for tomorrow. Someone tireless in their pursuit of excellence. So God made a teacher. Someone that spends their Saturdays shopping for the dollar store pencils, papers, markers, and books when their budgets are already spent. Someone that can make 10 presentations on 10 different subjects and track hundreds of students across several disciplines, making sure that each I is dotted and each T is crossed and every student is individually cared for. God made a teacher. A person that cares more about the children than they do about themselves. So God made a teacher. Someone that will get a letter or a call near the end of their career from a student they had so many years ago, telling them how they changed them, how they shaped them, or how their minds are open to limitless possibilities. And know that there is no greater calling to be what God made them. God made them a teacher.
I'm excited to introduce to you our graduation speaker. Mr. Tim Stevenson is best known as the founder of the EAST Initiative. EAST actually began in a single classroom in Greenbrier, Arkansas in 1996. And as a first-year teacher, Mr. Stevenson was given the responsibility of educating students who, maybe were previously disengaged from education. And this is challenging work. It was his challenge to help them to become interested in learning and to help them to find a purpose. Well, as a new teacher, Mr. Stevenson thought outside the box. He proposed that his first classroom meet in a wooden area that included a creek and a pond, and this spot was actually the one that students often skip school to go to. So as he took his students out there, they quickly discovered that students would get muddy as they're crossing the creek to get to the pond. So he proposed to his students, how do we solve this problem? By building a bridge. So Mr. Stevenson, in his vision, decided to connect school and businesses. He recruited support, materials, software to again help students to solve this problem. Well, the East Initiative has exploded. What started in 1996 has grown to hundreds of classrooms across the nation. Again, academic and business partnerships formed to provide new and relevant teaching and learning. Mr. Stevenson has captured the attention of national leaders. In fact, a few years ago, he was invited to the White House and recognized as one of the greatest innovators in education. At this time, it is my privilege to introduce Mr. Tim Stevenson.
Oh my goodness. Just looking out here and I'm enjoying the moment. And I want you guys to enjoy this moment. I want you to congratulate yourselves. I want you to soak it all in. I was talking to Dr. Rollins a little bit a while ago about our graduation. I remember my high school graduation. I'm getting to be a pretty old coot, but I can still remember that. I've gotten to that point in life where I do a lot of that. I do a lot of thinking about back then. My granddaughter humbled me a little bit this afternoon. My wife always does a check before I go to any speaking engagement or before I travel or anything. I kind of have to stand front and center and let her check things out, make sure I haven't ruined my suit or everything's where it should be, and I have all the things where they're supposed to be. And my granddaughter happened to be there, and she said, "Grandpa, I love you." She said, "I can't wait till I get to be your age and it doesn't matter how I look anymore." That's how my day started off today, and if you don't think God will make you humble, He will. I promise you. If He's good to you and you live long enough, it'll happen. And it has happened to me, and I cherish that. But in that, back to what I was talking about, I want to congratulate you guys tonight. This is a meaningful thing. You know, you can count on just your fingers, most of us, the really important things that happen to you in life. And along the way, all that other stuff is just the stuff in between. It's what happens to you in between those monumental things. And those monumental things tend to define our lives. And among those is graduating from school. And I certainly want you to relish that. I want you to consider that and think about that. I guess there's a number of others. Who you choose to be your life partner, you're the love of your life, that's one of those things. And there's others, but certainly this is an important night. So I want to talk to you just a little bit, speak a little bit about what tonight means. It is a monumental moment. And why is it so monumental? Well, it marks a period of your life that is past and a period that is about to begin. You can think of tonight as both the end and the beginning, because what's ending tonight is your childhood. Now, you will find me to be a somewhat brutally honest person and sometimes politically incorrect, so If I offend anyone, just, oh well, old coots do that sometimes, so just bear with me. But I want you to really get it in your brain tonight, students, that this night marks the end of your childhood. Now, what does that mean, childhood? Well, it means a lot of things, but surely one of them is that in childhood, all of these people out here and up here take the responsibility for you. I don't know if you guys can remember back to kindergarten or first grade when your teacher had you line up to go to lunch, had you possibly hold hands walking down the sidewalk or whatever on your way to the cafeteria, had you every single move you made was choreographed and coordinated, and simply stated, and honestly, it's because they couldn't trust you. You know, you're liable to take off in any direction or do something really stupid. So the chances of you doing something really stupid are greatly diminished if we'll have you hold hands and walk single file. Well, after about the second or third grade, you started getting a little bit more freedom, and you start even being able to go from one class to the other without holding hands and without somebody totally being there making sure you don't do something stupid. Then you get into high school, junior high, and then high school, and all along the way you get more trust and more responsibility. And finally you get to this place where you're graduating. And I want you to think of tonight as the point in time, the night, where all of these people are no longer responsible for you. You are responsible for you. That is an amazing thing. It comes with a great deal of freedom and yeehaw. Right? Finally, no more holding hands. I don't have to do this and that, and that's wonderful. And you've earned that right. You've earned it because you've run the gauntlet. You've demonstrated that you can be trusted and that you can take care of yourself. And so tonight we put this cap on you and this robe on you, and we hand you this diploma, and we say, okay, go forth and be an adult. Congratulations. You earned it. And I'm sure some of you earned it the tough way. Not everything was getting given to you. How many of you guys picked the country you were born in? Anybody? How many of you guys picked your parents? Did you get, when you were plopped into the world, did you just, were you in line up there and say, oh, I like that one and I like this one? And no, that's not the way it happened, right? You get what you get. You guys are amazingly fortunate. And I want you to think about that just for a minute, because you plopped out into the world with people that care about you. And you plopped out in the world in a nation that is unique in the world. In my life, I've had the privilege of traveling the world over. I've had the amazing privilege of visiting literally thousands of schools in a number of countries. And I can tell you guys, you're amazingly fortunate to have plopped out, if you will, with these people that love you and in this nation. One of the things that happens to you tonight by virtue of becoming an adult is that you get your full rights. What does that mean, your full rights? Well, in the United States, we have a thing called the Bill of Rights. Y'all studied about it, I'm sure. You memorized it probably. Most of you can recite it verbatim, right? Well, maybe not verbatim, but you certainly should know your rights. How did that happen? How did you plop out in a place where you have a Bill of Rights? And not just any Bill of Rights, but a very special Bill of Rights. And I want you to take this away from you tonight, that you were born, you graduated, you became an adult in a very special way. In a place where people cared about you and loved you, and in a place where you have rights that are endowed upon you, not by people, not by government, but by your Creator. Guys, the United States is unique, and you are here in this unique place because we are the only place in the entire world where our rights come from the Creator, not from man. I want you to never forget that. As an American, you're special, and you're special because your rights do not come from man. See, what man gives, man can take away. What your Creator gives is yours, and it's inalienable. It can't be taken away. It's yours forever. And as an adult, you need to know that. Along with those rights comes a great deal of responsibility. Those responsibilities are governed by your principles. And your principles come from this nation of people and these caregivers. Hold on to that, cling to that. That is the only thing that makes America what America is. Never forget that. I want you to, Dr. Rollins set a great precedent. He had you recite something back, right? I'm going to give you something to recite back. As a responsible person, I'm going to take care of my own stuff. Boy, they're good. That's outstanding. What that is in a nutshell is it's not my job to take care of you. It's not their job to take care of you. It's your job to take care of you. And you can do that. You have the tools, you have the wherewithal, and you can do that. Part of that, and I think this transition from child to adult, I want you to remember one other thing, and a very critical thing. Whatever happened to you as a child, good, bad, or indifferent, get on with it. I meet so many people that have handicapped themselves with their past. Something happened to them as a kid, something terrible. And that terrible thing defines who they are, and they can't get away from it. And it makes them so much less than they could be. So tonight, I want you to put all of that aside. You know what the truth is? Just the gosh truth. Once you're an adult, nobody really cares what happened to you as a kid. They really don't. So get on with it. Don't dwell on that. I'm going to give you just a couple of tips, and I'm going to do it with some things that happened to me when I was about your age or actually a little bit younger than you. I was looking for a job one day, and there's a point to this story, so I want you to bear with me just a minute. I was looking for a job when I was a kid, and back then they let kids get jobs. Nowadays you have to be an adult before they give you a job, but back then kids could work. And I went place to place looking for a job, and I wound up in the zoo, literally the San Antonio Zoo. And I thought, man, there's got to be jobs here. All this stuff to pick up, and all this trash, and all these animals. This would be a cool place to work. And so I walked up into the office there and asked them for a job. And they sent me in to interview with this guy, and he talked to me for a minute. He said, "Do you have any experience with animals?" And I said, "Yes, sir, I do. I've had a dog, and I've terrorized most of the cats in my neighborhood." Said, I've had experience. And he said, "Well, I'm talking about caged animals, pinned animals. And I said, yes, sir, my grandfather had a farm, and we used to have to pin the cows and mess with the cows some. And he said, no, son, I'm talking about wild animals. And I said, well, yes, sir, I've had a little bit of experience. I said, I caught a raccoon one time and kept it until my mother made me learn it loose. He said, well, that's just not going to do. You just don't have enough experience. So I thanked him very much, and I knew when enough was enough, and I left. And when I walked out, I saw the monkey cages, the orangutan cages, and I thought, man, that's cool. Because I hadn't been around that kind of stuff very much, so I decided I'd go over there, and I was frankly kind of discouraged after being turned down for the job, and I was sitting there watching these orangutans. The orangutans fascinate me, always have. And this one orangutan, he was sitting back there being an orangutan, and he kept doing this. And I was amazed by the animal could do that. So I walked over to this guy. I said, what is he doing that for? And he said, he wants you to feed him some peanuts. And I said, oh. So I had a nickel in my pocket, and I went over and bought some peanuts, came back over there. That orangutan was doing that, and I pitched him one. Boy, he got it, and he smiled. You know how they can smile? It's amazing. Big grin. Cracked me up, and I thought, man, that's cool. So I threw him another peanut, and every time I'd throw him one, he'd eat that peanut and smile, and he'd do this. So I kept moving closer. Well, I got right up to the cage, real close to the cage, and he reached that long arm out of that cage. Reached it way out there. Now, there was a white line on the ground, and it said in big, huge, bold letters, do not cross this line. And I saw the line, and I'm a pretty good-sized fella, so I got my toes right on the line, and I reached out there, and that orangutan reached all he could reach, and he got it. And, boy, those fingers are amazing on those things. He reached out there, and we transferred a peanut. It was a magical moment, man. I'm telling you, it was cool. And that thing grinned and jumped around the cage and swung from the bars, and I was tickled to death, and he was too, and man, that was cool. Pretty soon, people started coming over to watch me hand that orangutan that peanut. Well, I didn't really I kind of quit paying attention to the line, and he quit reaching so far. And pretty soon, I was laying across the hedges. There was a hedge there, and reaching, and I was getting in there. I was well across the line, and he would take that peanut, and every time I'd give him one, I didn't notice, but he was reaching less, and I was reaching more. I had on a pair of sunglasses. You know how when you're cool and young, you wear your sunglasses up here? I had on those sunglasses, and I was reaching out there, all of a sudden, lightning quick. That thing reached out there. I was reaching way almost into the cage by then, and that arm shot up. He caught me by the back of the head. He jerked my head up against the bars of that cage. I was screaming, help! That orangutan took those glasses off my head. He pitched them back in the cage. He reached down behind himself, and he did the unthinkable and rubbed it on my head. Me just screaming at the height of my lungs the entire time. Well, the zoo guy came running out of the building. Of course, people were screaming everywhere because there I was, pulled up into the cage. I had dents right here, bruises on where he pulled me into those bars. About the time the zookeeper got there with his broom handle, he was going to poke that orangutan. He turned loose of me. I fell back. Now, there I sat there with monkey dew on my head. I looked over there, and the orangutan had those sunglasses on. And he smiled just like he had been smiling. The zookeeper came over. He said, "Are you okay, son?" And I said, "Yes, sir, I'm all right. I think I'm all right." He said, "Well, the lead gum line's right there." He said, "I know you crossed that line." He said, "Yes, sir." I said, "Yes, sir, I did. I crossed the line." He said, "Well, man, that thing does that." He said, "You don't want to get near those things. They're dangerous." And I said, "Well, I said, has he ever done it to you? And he said, no. I said, well, I guess that means I got more experience with monkeys than you do, so how about that job we were talking about? He said, you're hired. Now, here's the point of my story, guys. Life is going to do you wrong. There are going to be times out there when you trust people and they do you wrong. The moral of that story is don't trust people till you've watched them a while. Don't trust people until you've seen how they treat others that are different from themselves. Because eventually that's how they're going to treat you. No matter what they say, that's what will happen. So when you go to trusting, you think about and you watch and you be careful of that. That doesn't mean not to trust people. It just means watch what they do. Don't necessarily listen to what people say. The other part of the moral of that story is when you get a head full of dudes, try and make something out of it. It'll get you a job sometime. So see the opportunity rather than the tragedy. That's one of those little tips of life that taught me a lot. I've used that a lot in my life, and it is absolute truth. I want to give you one more little short tip, if y'all will indulge me. One of the other most valuable lessons I learned in my life was when I was a boy on my grandfather's farm. My brother and I were responsible for doing the milking. Now, I don't know if you guys are city kids mostly around here, but some of you country kids, I know some of you adults know what I'm talking about. That's hard work. Well, my grandfather, he was a bachelor. He was a widower. And my brother and I stayed with him on this farm. He was an old German man, and he loved to play dominoes. That was his big thing. So once he got my brother and I lined out on our chores, he'd go to town and play dominoes. And my brother and I were unattended on the farm. Well, we did our work every day, and after we got our work done, we always found something to do. We'd go hunting, fishing, or do something on that farm. This one particular day, we were extra bored, and we looked out, and there was a mule out in the field. My grandfather kept a mule. He didn't use the mule. We always wondered why he had the mule. The thing was cantankerous. It was mean. He'd bite you or kick you if you got near him. This old mule was just there, and we had to take care of him all the time. So my brother and I decided we'd mess with that mule that day out of boredom. So we went out there poking around with that thing. We finally got a halter on that mule, a head thing on that mule, and got him tied up to a fence post and decided, boy, that's pretty good. We got this mule in a halter. Said, what can we do with him? And then my brother said, well, there's a harness and a wagon down there in the old barn. Let's just hook him up. Now, we had never seen a mule harnessed to a wagon in our lives, never had. But we thought of that to do. So we did. We went down to the barn. We dug this old wagon out of the barn. We dug the harness out of the barn, and after wrestling that mule for a couple hours, we managed to get the collar and the straps and get that mule all dressed up, and we got ready to hitch him to the wagon. Now, the wagon had this great long tongue. Y'all know what a country wagon looks like, right? Well, we couldn't figure out how to hook the harness to the tongue, so we went down to the shop and we got a logging chain, a chain about 20, 30 foot long, great big long chain. We hooked one end of that chain to that mule's harness and the other end to the end of that wagon tongue. Now that put the mule out there about as far as here halfway up the crowd. And that presented a problem because the reins weren't long enough. The thing you got them with? So we were innovative young men. We went to the hay barn. We got hay string, and we tied onto those reins, and we made us some great long reins that we could set up on the wagon and have control of that mule. And that mule was way out there with that chain hooked to that wagon. And we actually got him to move a little bit. But every time we'd stop, every time both of us get on the wagon, he'd stop moving. Well, we fixed that. We got a bucket of rocks. We picked a whole bucket of rocks up, and we figured out we could sit on that wagon and chunk rocks and hit that mule, and he'd move a little bit. And man, we're making progress. We are actually moving with that mule. We got to going around the farm there pretty good. And when we started running out of rocks, we'd just stop and pick up some more rocks, and we were doing all right. We finally decided, wouldn't it be cool if we went to town where Dada was playing dominoes and showed him how we hooked that wagon to that mule? It seemed like a perfect thing to do. At the time, it was a great idea. So out the gate we went, down a paved highway. There we went with that mule way out there at the end of that long chain. Man, it was great. Every time we'd run out of rocks, we'd stop and pick up some more. And the old mules just clip-clop, clip-clop, clip-clop down the highway. People were honking their horns and waving at us, and man, we were big stuff. Everything was going great. When you went into Brenham, Texas, there was a long hill. Kind of went down to a creek where the domino parlor sat. And we started down that hill, and I got to noticing we were picking up speed. And then I got to noticing that chain was getting a loop in it. The wagon was going faster than the mule. Being resourceful boys, we knew what to do. We just started throwing more rocks. We'd hit that mule and he'd giddy up some more. Directly, we were throwing rocks as fast as we could, and that chain kept getting slack. We run out of rocks about halfway down that hill. I'll never forget the look in that mule's eye when those two boys on that wagon passed him up. I hadn't had high school physics yet, but I knew something bad was fixing to happen. When that chain come under those mules' feet, he belly flopped right there in the asphalt, and the tongue of that wagon jerked around. All of that happened right down at the bottom of the hill where my grandfather was playing dominoes. We slid down that highway, and I got to tell you, as a side note here, I learned more about physics that day than I ever learned the entire rest of my life. I can tell you about momentum and friction and inertia, all those concepts. Y'all know what I'm talking about. We slid to a halt at the bottom of that hill in front of the domino parlor, and I'll never forget, I was laying under a turned over wagon with the wagon kind of on me, and the mule was laying there. He was just a mess, all skin up. My brother had tumbled across a ditch, had stuck his head in the mud, actually, on the other side of the ditch. My grandfather, on the wagon on his side, one of the wheels was still just whirling. My grandfather walked up. He looked down at me, and he reached over, and there was a lever there on that wagon. He pulled that lever, and that wheel instantly stopped. He said, "You idiot. Why didn't you use the brake?" I said, "We didn't know there was one." He said, "There's a hell of a lot you boys don't know." He said, "And if you don't get killed, you may learn it." He said, "Now y'all get on back to the house, take that mule with you, and y'all doctor him up." Now here's the moral of that story, other than you can draw a lot of analogies from it. Guys, be adventurous. That's great. Have fun. Try things you've never tried before. But always know where the brakes are. If you're doing something stupid, stop it. Okay? Know where the brakes are. Know when to turn it and when to shut it down. Have fun. Be adventurous. Enjoy this monumental day. Don't forget the nation that bore you here. Don't forget the loved ones that made it possible for you to be here. And forget about anything bad that happened to you, because all these people are real busy trying to keep from happening to other people now. And you're part of that crew. Welcome to that world. Thank y'all very much.
As we continue with our exercise, as a reminder to our audience to again refrain from loud or boisterous celebrations. Certainly polite applause is appropriate. With the first row of our graduating class of 2014, please rise and take your place.
Melissa Zambrano. Tia Rush. Jamie Colbert. Dawn Gamble. Courtney Haynes. Mariana Underdown. Serena Moats. Stormy Myers. Brandon Wilson. Brian Wilson. Sorry, Brian Nunez. Ashley Artega. Andrea Elizabeth Garcia. Jennifer Carranza. Glenda Alamon. Areli Gomez. Zuleika Castillo. Antonio Martinez. Jocelyn Mendoza. Elizabeth Hernandez. Rosario Anguiano. Estefani Andrea Corona. Nancy Chavez. Emily Richardson. Leslie Ballesteros. Yara Rivera. Crystal Munoz. Jasmine Arzate. Eric Gallegos. Salvador Zubieta. Angel Ramirez. Alonzo Dozel. Chris Martinez. Kenneth Whittle. Sarah Elizabeth Blackwood. Cheyenne Shepard. Leslie Starr. Katie Annie. Rebecca Herrera. Neil Goldman. Zane Gibbs. Skylar Smith. Michael Ackelson. Joel Garcia. Giovanni Ayala. Justin De La Cruz. Carlos Armenta. David De Leon. Alejandro Alaniz. Brenda Martinez. Kylie Mars. Brandon Perez. Selena Duncan. Noel Rector. Jeffrey Monroy. Jacob Chittister. Henry Rodriguez. Daniel Pena. Phileas Ilias. John Ionis. Lay Rieza. Ankim Lammy. Daniel Abner. Drexler Robert. Tina Gold. Zatina Harry. Gabriel Pettuelli. Jeremy Smith. Patience Bird. Sean Prince. Tristan Pickle. Maria Rodriguez. Christian Barbosa. Sergio Salazar. Jesus Alberto Trejo. Devin Tillery. Allison Bowen. Jennifer Hudson. Jonathan Killen. Wendy Reyes. Dakota Akins.
Graduating class, please rise. Board of Education, Dr. Rollins, friends and family, I proudly present to you the Archer Learning Center graduating class of 2014. You may turn your tassels. Everyone, thank you for attending tonight. Please drive home safely.